It becomes more tricky when we turn it into political power, military power.
The rise of China is one of the most extraordinary events. Travel, because the feet will take you to what the eye needs to see. Hi everybody, I'm Binedell at GIBS. In the last few episodes we've been talking about strategy, the last one a bit about power, around this theme of fate, luck and choice, the center of our series, and we hope you like and subscribe to it. I'm working with Adrian Saville, my good colleague and friend. Adrian, great to see you.
Good to be with you, Nick. Fate, luck and choice, as you say, like, subscribe, follow, or at least send us 3 of the winning lotto numbers.
So let's talk about the world we find ourselves in. It's September 2025. What an extraordinary year it's been. The furniture's shifting.
Yeah.
What's your take? We talked about power. You and I often talk about geopolitics and power and where South Africa fits into that jigsaw puzzle. But where do you think we are at the moment? How is power moving in the world?
Things can sort of snap and change form dramatically where you have these spectacular disconnects, or they can move more sort of treacle-like. And for perhaps 90s into the noughties, it's treacle-like movement. And although 2025 doesn't feel quite like a snap year, it's certainly moved much quicker than any time in the past 25 odd years. Let's put the marker as the fall of the Berlin Wall. That was a snapping year. Then it's treacle-like movement. This isn't a Berlin Wall year, but a whole lot of furniture has been rearranged. And in our conversations, it's created a whole fresh emphasis on where is power, whether it's economic power, military power, political power. I'll default to my economics lens, where there's a lovely map that shows the center of world economic gravity, decade by decade, steadily moving eastward and southward.
It's extraordinary because there's a map that shows the power of China and India 400 years ago. They were the dominant economies.
Yep.
So it first goes west and now it migrates east. And we don't know how far and how fast it's going to go. But I think in our lifetimes, we have to say the rise of China is one of the most extraordinary events.
We can get into, I suppose, technical conversations about how big, let's just say with the economic issue first, how big are these economies? I'm reading Kenneth Rogoff's book at the moment. It's called Our Currency, Your Problem. That's another talking point. And, he says if you use just nominal GDP, market prices, China is the world's second biggest economy. If you adjust for purchasing power parity, China overtook the US a decade back. That's, in the detail. Let's do the 400-year data. And in that 400-year data, your point is absolutely on the money, that China and India dominated the world economy. It's a tricky argument to make in many settings today that give another 15, 25 years to the compounding of China and India. China compounding much slower now, India picking up the pace. But 25 years forward from here, the world economy looks very, very different from an economic footprint perspective than it looks today.
Just one of the things I wanted to share with you is when I studied military history, which I did a lot to understand how the world works, most conflict was on land, except for the Mediterranean and a bit off China, until the world went to sea. The European powers sailed and dominated the world. And then 120 years ago, we went to air, and in my lifetime, we went into space, and now we're in cyber. So you've got to look at the order of analyzing world matters, not geographically, because we're talking about countries, we're talking about geographies or geographies and economies, but rather more thematically. And it would be very interesting to see an innovation map as to which countries are really producing the great new novel and will produce the great new novel innovations that are going to change the economies and the lives of everybody.
That's an incredible provocation because what you're suggesting and drawing on our conversation about power, economic power now, innovation power, military power, transport power, etc. 300, 400 years ago, you needed a marching army. Then you needed sailing ships, a fleet. That would help. More recently, you need mechanized. So, perhaps I could put alongside your airplanes, I can put tanks with that ground-based industrial military force. And now it's almost invisible.
Cyber.
It's cyber.
I remember standing in the middle of Rotterdam near the Central Station, hearing 5G. I couldn't see it, couldn't actually hear it, but I knew it was all around me. It's almost invisible.
You're saying this is Rotterdam, not Amsterdam?
It was Rotterdam.
That you heard 5G.
I heard 5G. I could see it in operation.
Now, so that then brings in another dimension of these, the forces of power shifting, because if it is this invisible power of data, coding, cyber, etc., I know that we've had this number on another episode, but India graduates each year 50 million students, 1 million of whom are engineers.
China the same.
Compete. I think that's a neat stat, but it needs to be made practical also. If I'm running a business, what am I supposed to do with it?
Of the 1 million engineers, 1,000 are in Silicon Valley and have done most of the innovation in Silicon Valley. That's the truth.
Yeah.
So people are mobile now.
Sure.
But it is, I suppose what we're skirting is that the nature of society has become so abstract. So let's take the power of social media to shape a society's agenda and how people, and their identity and how they interact. These are sort of ephemeral things that every generation resists, and yet it comes in these waves. If you're under 25 today, I would argue your social identity is actually more powerful than what we call identity at our age. These are just waves that always come along, and they mix their way into the stew, and we end up in the kind of world we're in. And the question companies face and leaders face is to try and interpret them before everybody else and make smart moves on them. And I call this frontier strategy, where you're probing and you're risking a bit and you're exploring and you're getting out of your box, and you are taking risks, small risks, to see where the fertile ground is likely to be. What are the pockets? And if you take AI right now, I certainly don't know what on earth AI is going to do in the next 10 years. All I know is I can feel the wind coming. And so all of us should be spending a little bit of time in our companies, if not a lot of time, thinking about how do these systems go, how are their agents and the algorithms going to affect how we operate our machinery, our data, our decision making.
One of the things that I suppose confuses me or confounds me is people suggesting that digitization, adopting AI, implementing AI is that's the essence of a competitive strategy. And why I find that statement a little bit tricky is what it imagines then is I'm doing this and no one else is doing it. It would be a little bit like saying, we've decided to put electricity into the business in 1920, and no one else has got electricity, but very soon the others will have it. And so this isn't a point of distinction or definition.
Well, it may be if you do it first and really well.
If you do it first, and it's not copyable or...
Well, I don't know if AI is not copyable, but I mean, all these providers are searching to do the same thing with AI and algorithms. But what I always go back to is, I think of Robbie Brosnan and Nando's, and going to Rosettenville, liking the chicken, buying Fernando's restaurant, calling it Nando's, and 15, 20 years later, he's got a global brand. But it is distinctive. I think of Discovery and Vitality. That's really where strategy lives. It's something that is really, Henry Ford said, if I'd asked my friends what they wanted, they would have asked for faster horses.
Yeah.
So it's those companies and people who can discern a latent need that's not yet met and go there.
So that's
frontier strategy.
So these are sensing organizations.
Sensing.
They're learning, they're listening.
I think CEOs should have far more sabbaticals than they do. We should take top young talent, senior talent, and just say, go somewhere and come and tell us what you found. Go look at our competitors in Brazil or in India. Come back and tell us what you see. You know, I've always said this. I may have said this in this program.
You, hang on to you've always said. I first have to get my chuckle out. Is when I joined GIBS decades back. One of the first collegial warnings I got was, when Nick comes back from holiday, avoid eye contact.
well, that's what it was. I would drive a week after my holiday. I'd drive for a week on the way back and drive everybody nuts, calling in with ideas.
Yeah.
Because there is other people may do it differently. I need to stop. I need the engines to stop and to sort of relax, and then I can see. And I think I've learned more from traveling than studying, actually.
Marty Linsky says, off the dance floor, onto the balcony.
Onto the balcony.
Yeah.
So go to places that are unexpected and interesting. But what I'm saying is you should be probing all of that. And your executives should have some time out of the front line of the battle. That's where you have the good ideas. Come under pressure. Remove yourself from it. Apollo 13, the great case story, right?
Yeah.
They got a team helping them, and then they put another team that weren't under that pressure to figure out how to do it. We need more of that capacity in our companies.
James Lovell passed away recently, sadly, but the incredible feat of bringing that Apollo 13 back from the dark side of the moon. Impossible circumstances. But your point about first having people who are able to sort of extract themselves from the noise and the drama, get that perspective.
Yeah.
And then
we all have different kinds of intellect. So I am absolutely hopeless at following a manual. If I get a new technology or a car, it's impossible. You've got a 300-page manual. I never bother reading it. I see if I can run the car, slowly find out. I've learned much more through the eye than through just reading material or reading annual reports. The eye will tell you. I think I said in one of our episodes, travel, because the feet will take you to what the eye needs to see. Most learning is experiential. And in this world we're heading to, this new world order, let's end by me asking you, do you think we are heading into a new world order that is largely Asian dominated?
If we go back to the opening observations about the center of economic power, the answer there is very, very easy. Absolutely. That center of economic power is steadily shifting. It becomes more tricky when we turn it into political power, military power, the power of allegiances and alliances. That becomes trickier. But if we've got to flip a coin and it lands on Asian or Eastern versus Western.
East of Benoni.
East of Benoni, that's where the power lies. That's where we go increasingly over the next 25 years.
Fantastic, Adrian.
Thanks, Nick.